Jackie? I forget what color the light's supposed to be. I guess it's supposed to be red. I don't remember. All right, page 130 at the bottom, the beast from the bottomless pit. Any questions before we start from previous? Alrighty then. Revelation 17, verse 8. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. Okay, that can be a little confusing, huh? Before we start reading, anybody want to explain all that?
Who's on first?
Yeah. Second?
Third.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get right into it then. The general quality of describing the beast from the abyss is explained in chronological order. When they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. His ascension is from the infernal regions of the lower world called the bottomless pit. The bottomless pit, or in the Greek, abyssos, is a place of confinement of demons. The word perdition, derived from the Greek apalia, means destruction and speaks to the condition of final truth or damnation. This beast of the bottomless pit is of demonic spirit derivation and should not be confused with the beast from the sea or the beast from the earth. Those are men. Both of those instances are individuals, human beings. But this one is not. This is demonic spirit. Much confusion has arisen when the attempt is made to associate the beast from the abyss with a human being who at one time lived on earth. And if you've discussed this at any time in the past, you've probably heard that. People try to say it's somebody that's brought back from somewhere in the past. It's not a human being. It's a demon. Or demonic, however you want to say it. This stems from the assumption that the beast from the sea and the beast from the pit are one and the self-same person. From this highly suppositional school of thought, many prominent individuals from ancient and contemporary times have been advanced as a futile attempt to identify the man of sin. We kind of discussed that a little bit last week too. Everybody is always trying to come up with and say who the Antichrist is. And you may guess correctly, but you're not going to know. Let's see. Now I lost my spot. I looked up.
For example.
Let's see. Oh, there. Thank you. For example, such famous men as Nimrod, Napoleon, Julius Caesar, Nero, various popes, and such contemporary individuals as Adolf Hitler, Mussolini, Henry Kissinger, etc., have been advanced as the future Antichrist of prophecy. For an individual spirit from the past to return and become the man of sin would involve either an actual resurrection or a reincarnation. And neither one of those is going to happen. First, let one never assume that once a man is raised from corruption, that he will ever become subjected to physical death again. Man has only one appointment with death, and after that comes the judgment. Second, the doctrine that some departed human spirit who at one time lived on earth would return by the act of reincarnation and be born again, grow to full maturity, etc., is highly condemned by the Word of God. In the resurrection, men will inhabit their own physical bodies, never to be susceptible to the regions of the dead again. Many expositors have attempted to relate this dreadful beast to a world government, which is to be revived in the end time. A kingdom as such would never come from the bottomless pit. It should be observed, however, that a demonic prince or ruler from an ancient regional power could be confined to such a place. For the affairs of this world have always been governed by the results occurring in the spirit world. For example, knowest thou wherefore I come unto thee, and now will I return to fight with the prince of Persia. And when I am gone forth, lo, the prince of Grecia shall come. That comes from Daniel. Let's see. The unseen spirit ruler of Persia had withstood Gabriel for 21 days and kept him from ministering answered prayer to Daniel the prophet. Michael, the prince of Israel, came to help and withstood the prince of Persia, while Gabriel delivered the answered prayer to the prophet. These two mighty archangels were involved in the war with the spirit power who ruled the Persian Empire. Also in Daniel, the announcement of the next world empire, Greece, is set forth by the installation of the Prince of Grecia. So what he's stating here is that this demonic power, some people again try to use symbolism. It's easy to do when you're in Revelation because there is a lot of symbolism in Revelation. There's also not. Many things that should be taken literal that they try to assign symbolism to, and when you try to do that to something that is actual, there's no outcome other than a wrong answer. When we try to make something symbolic that God says, no, this is actually how it is, so the only solution we can come up with is going to be incorrect because we're approaching it incorrectly. So here to say that this beast that is being described is a government power is incorrect. That's not how it is. But what he is saying that this demonic force, demon, whatever you want to call them, can be and probably was behind a government power sometime in the past. Even now, somebody is behind every ruler. Oh, yeah. Either they're being led by God and making decisions that are godly decisions. So if it's not God, there's only one other option, and they don't even know it. They're merely being a puppet whose strings are being pulled by Satan. So, a good example, you look throughout Israel's history, the various kings that they had. Some of them were good, and whenever it was that they were described as they followed God and obeyed Him and were trying to do things His way. But if they weren't, then they were horrible kings, and they did everything against God's way and followed. Basically, they were following Satan. That's no other way to describe it. So, an individual, a government, whatever power that's in place, they're being led and are directing under the influence of one of two people. It's either God or it's Satan. There is no
spiritual warfare.
Exactly. So the reality that when they're talking about the past governments that were corrupt and trying to assign this to that, well, it's not specifically that government. It's the power that was behind those governments that was causing that. Well, this sorry to say person. It's not a person. This spirit is probably the same spirit that has been behind many things throughout history in terms of government powers, kings, or what have you. So that's what he's trying to describe here.
Well, in the Bible it says clearly that the Lord God is the one that sets up rulers and kingdoms and tears them down.
Right. He permits or puts in place.
Yes.
But those kingdoms or rulers, whoever though, is either following God or they're not following God. Right. And He's allowing that to happen. That's part of judgment.
Yeah. It's really evident when our government's following.
But when they're not following Him, then there is a demonic spiritual aspect that is behind all of that. And that's who this beast is. So he was at one time in the past, what kingdom or what doesn't say. But after that, he's been confined to the bottomless pit. When and how and where that happened, I don't have information on that. We're just not given it. We know it is because it's stated here that that's the case. Then, no different than, what other, I'll ask, what other examples of that do we have to say that, okay, I can see that. This spirit was once here, and then when that time for that, whatever he was doing was, God said, no, all right, that's it for you right now. I'll put you over here until I'm ready for you. And then he's put into a bottomless pit. And then now, when the time is right, he is allowed to come back up and,
Aren't those demons that were? Aren't there those demons that were trapped for just that purpose and time?
That's one example.
Just like that, you have to ask yourself, they were around with the genocide of the Jews, to think that one government could put that many people and kids and all that stuff. We know there's a spirit behind
demonic,
that.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep. But people want to think, well, if they were here, they're always here. Where did they go? Well, no. Just like you're saying, there's those ones that are going to be. There's several descriptions. Those fallen angels that are held into the river Euphrates and the pit there, they're going to be released. For the time that God says now it's time. Satan's going to be bound into a bottomless pit for 1,000 years, and then he's going to be released. So he's going to be here. He's going to be taken out of the way, and then he's going to be brought back for God's purpose, and then he's going to be done away with again.
Yourself, like, it's bad out there now. So, and some of the bad ones are locked up. So when they actually get out, God frees them. God just.
Well, as we've discussed this when we were when we were in those places leading up to this, we can't even imagine what things are going to be like.
Horrific out there now.
This is nothing.
And
Nothing.
That fury that has to be within the
Pure evil, hatred. It's like we've never ever experienced before. No, it's you can't even describe it. All right, let's see here. Where we at? The beast from the bottomless pit. Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
The beast from the bottomless pit, therefore, is a satanic prince who ruled one of the past Gentile kingdoms. The beast that was relates back to the time period when this satanic prince ruled, and is not, speaks to the fact that he has been put away as a ruling power, and yet looks forward into the future when he will come back from the pit of confinement to rule yet again. So that's what I was just describing. In this particular sense, the scripture speaks of one of his heads which was wounded to death and his deadly wound healed. It speaks of the reviving of an ancient satanic prince rather than the resurrection of one from the dead. The reincarnation of an individual spirit of some famous person from the past, or the assassination of the man of sin and his resurrection out from the dead. So there's the explanation of what we talked about before, where one of the heads says was wounded as unto death and then resurrected. That's this. I knew it was coming. Sorry. What?
No, we're probably not there yet. But so this is going to be one of the demonic forces behind the Antichrist. No, because that's Satan.
No, that's already
Yeah,
happening.
that's
This he'll contribute to it. He's yet another one that's going to be behind, but he's going to be in the form of a government. Probably, we'll see what he says here. I'm thinking what we've been talking about, the revived Rome.
Right.
Let's see. Those names who were not recorded in the Lamb's Book of Life wondered with great wonder when they beheld the beast that was and is not and yet is. The Lamb's Book of Life is again reiterated, and as before, it relates to the redeemed. God's word does not allow for the modern fallacies of men whose teachings continually insist that names cannot be blotted out of the Book of Life. The following scriptures have troubled many expositors who adhere to the doctrine of election and eternal security. Let them be blotted out of the book of the living. Whosoever hath sinned against me, him will I blot out of my book. And I will not blot out his name out of the book of life. God shall take away his part out of the book of life. So these are all references to the fact that names can be removed from the book of life. For how can names be blotted out of the book of life if salvation is forever secure? First of all, understand what names are written in the book of life. Huh?
My name is.
There you go. It's the redeemed. So it's and that's what a lot of people will try to say from the time that you were created, your name has been in the book of life. No, that's a different book. There's the book of life are specifically those that have been redeemed, that have accepted salvation. So in order for their name then to be capable of being blotted out or removed, then salvation is not
Once saved, always saved,
is a false doctrine. Absolutely.
And the thing that you gotta love is when they say, well, they must not have been for real saved, because if they were, they wouldn't have done it. And I was like, I got news for you, I'm living proof. Yes, they can.
Yeah, nope, I've known plenty of people that there was no question. Let's see. It has been suggested by some that when one is brought into this physical life, his name is inscribed in the book of life. Yeah, I just said that. Jesus makes it very plain that children are compatible to the kingdom of heaven. However, this particular reference relates to the celestial roll book, where the names of those are recorded who have accepted Jesus Christ as Savior. The continuance of our salvation depends on the perseverance of the individual, or else Christ would not have used the term, I will blot his name out of the book of life. Foreordained from the foundation of the world, Christ, the second party of the triune Godhead, was to become the sacrificial lamb without spot and blemish, the lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Not only was he unveiled from the foundation of the world, but man, upon the basis of his free moral agency and acceptance of Christ, was chosen from the foundation of the world. The wicked will never enter into this rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. A kingdom also has been promised to the faithful from the foundation of the world. Our Lord from heaven, along with all saints, was therefore unveiled in the counsel of God from eternity. So it's saying that these things were established and accounted for from the foundation of the world, but not that, meaning that everybody has received that from the foundation of the world. Trying to think of what it was. The plan of salvation, the word says, was put in place before the foundation of the world. So before anything was even created, God already had the plan of salvation in effect. He knew what he was going to do. He knew what was going to happen. He knew how he was going to take care of it. But that doesn't mean that at that point that everybody was saved.
Right.
Just because the plan was in effect from that point, people have to accept that. So if that's the case, then
how does it say that we're still born in sin?
What's that?
If that's the case, then how are we still born into sin when we come into the world?
That's what I'm saying. So if we have to accept that, then it's not possible that everybody's name is going to be pre-written in a logbook, basically, of those that are saved. Any other thoughts or questions on any of that? All right, then the seven-headed beast, Revelation 17:9-11. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth and is of the seven and goeth into perdition. Got heads or tails out of that? Well, first of all, here just to kind of set it up where we're talking about knowing how to approach something as to whether being symbolic or it is as it is. So here, just from what we've already understood and gotten into, the seven heads and the woman and the mountains and all of these things, what literal, symbolic.
Isn't the five fallen, isn't that the kingdoms? Because the one kingdom stands and then the other one's coming up out of the one that isn't there yet.
So literal or symbolic?
Symbolic. Yeah.
Symbolic. It's like I said, it's the majority of the time. I'm trying to think of an example that it's like, well, I'm not sure, and I can't come up with one right off the top of my head. The majority of the time, it's pretty obvious that something is meant to be symbolic, just as this is, or whether it's literal or not. Those that continually try to symbolize everything, like I said, there's only one outcome with doing that, the wrong answer. All right, the intellectual powers of perception exercised by the organism of the mind, belonging to this cosmos world order, reflect feeling, thinking, and individual wills. Here the scriptures speak of intellect and understanding distinguished from the earthly doctrine of mind, echoing from the heavenly spheres spiritual communications, which those with only terrestrial knowledge cannot receive. For they are spiritual matters involving conscious thoughts, constituting in essence the revelation of God transmitted by the Spirit of God unto mortal man. The fact that the seven heads are said to represent mountains has caused many to conclude that the seven mountains upon which the woman sitteth represent none other than Rome itself. Their conclusion is based entirely upon the fact that Rome was formed. That first paragraph that I read, I know that's again, this is his way of putting a bunch of here's let me try to simplify what that is. Carnal minds can't discern spiritual things. That's really all he's saying there. So people that are trying to through earthly intelligence and man's wisdom, they're trying to assign these things to particular. That's what we said. Doing that. Well, if you're not being led by the Spirit, then again, you can't come up with the right answer. It's not possible because this is spiritual things that are being given to us. So in the earthly mind, the seven mountains. Well, what location on the earth has a place where it's surrounded by seven mountains? And we see that it's been talking about the old Roman Empire. Well, Rome has that, so they immediately start to associate physical places. You can't use earthly wisdom to sort these things out. It just doesn't work that way. So that last paragraph, that's what that was all about. Let's see. Their conclusion is based entirely upon the fact that Rome was formed, geographically speaking, upon a group of hills from which the city has always been famously associated. They were the Palatine, Amantine, Salian, Oppian, Esquitine, Viminal, and Quirinal. Probably butchered all of them. This group of hills and spurs was ultimately occupied by communities. As the city of Rome began to grow, another hill called Janiculum, which is located on the other side of the river Tiber, was often included among the seven. It should be carefully observed that these are only 7 hills on which Rome sits, and not 7 mountains as the scriptures declare. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. Also the 7 heads which are compatible to the 7 mountains are said to be 7 kings, or kingdoms, 5 of which were fallen, so they've already been in existence and they're not around anymore. One was existing during John's day, so that's 6, and the other was yet to come. That's the 7th, and it's not here yet. That mountains are often referred to as a kingdom or regional dominion is set forth in the following scriptures. The kingdom of Israel was considered by King David in terms of a mountain. Lord, by thy favor thou hast made my mountain to stand strong. Then the mighty Babylonian king was referred to as a destroying mountain. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord, which destroyest all the earth. And I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. So there's scriptural reference to kingdoms being referred to as mountains. The future and unprecedented millennial kingdom, when Christ becomes supreme civil ruler over the entire earth, is referred to by Daniel the prophet as a great mountain, which fills the whole earth. It is obviously intended by the angel that the 7 mountains be taken in the scriptural sense, as opposed to piles of material rocks and earth around Rome. The Roman Empire surely comes into view in the total arrangement of the 7 regal powers, but only in her proper perspective. However, these 7 mountains should not be identified with Rome in either the pagan, regal, or papal aspects. To make the whole 7 regal or papal Rome is to divert from the scriptures and history, for neither have had 7 ruling powers. Also, the apostate woman should not be considered an empire, for she influences and rides upon the world kingdoms to the point of her existence. Well, we've already discussed the woman. Who is she?
Of that time?
The
Church.
The religious entity or church of the time, correct? The scriptures reveal this great harlot as having committed fornication with the kings of the earth. In this, she is portrayed as riding upon her, actually being sustained by the scarlet-colored beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. The reference here is that the woman has committed many sins with each of these successive empires. There is also a special eschatological emphasis placed here upon the 10 kingdoms and the woman, relative to the future kingdom of Antichrist. The 7 heads upon the dreadful and terrible beast and the 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth therefore represent 7 successive empires which have suppressed Israel during the time of the Gentiles. The kingdoms are further described as 5 of which are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is yet to come. The 5 kingdoms which were fallen, passed away, or run their course are the kingdoms of Assyria, Egypt, Babylon, Medo-Persia, and Greece. The contemporary kingdom, and 1 is, was Rome, which was in existence during John's day. The future kingdom, or the 7th regal power, and the other is not yet come, speaks of the 10 kingdoms yet to be formed inside the old Roman Empire. So again, who these 10 kingdoms are, there's I've heard all kinds of theories on who they are, and again, it's speculation. Who's left standing during this time? Who knows? But to see again how things are being played out before us right now, to make this like understandable, they are doing their best to create a world order. The United Nations is, it's not the United Nations, but they're kind of leading the way, trying to establish, setting that up, where there's going to be a group of nations that have the major power in the world, and at some point, well, at this time it's going to be 10, they're going to be in control of everything. They'll control the whole world. So they said that we see the efforts being put into place to create that happening right now around us.
The other countries are trying to get rid of the American dollar too.
Yep.
A lot of other countries don't want to be paid in the American dollar anymore.
Nope.
They want to be paid, like the euro, whatever, so they're trying
And I forget what, there's like 3 or 4 countries right now that are really pushing this currency issue, and I know China's one of them. I forget who the others are, but yeah, they're really trying to push us out.
Well, there was an article I was reading too, where they're talking about like that next World Summit, I think it's in September, that Biden is supposed to like sign this agreement with United Nations that says, okay, anything happens that they consider to be, like, you know how they're pandemic, and then they didn't just say like a physical pandemic, it could also be in the list of other things that they can consider the pandemic that they will take over control.
They would have authority. Yeah.
And that they can decide how long it is, and that it didn't matter who is president, that it'll be too late, that it's already in effect and you can't get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that won't fly.
Well, you would hope, but
Well,
you look at things-
it might with the government, with the majority of our people,
Oh, yeah,
that
no.
won't fly.
But I mean, you just
If I ain't
see
listening
though-
to Biden, I'm not listening to some foreign.
Right. But I mean, you can see though how all that can.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the same thing with that, what's that, WHO World Health Order?
Mhm.
They're trying to establish that too. Like, yeah, okay, I don't need somebody in, wherever on the other side of the world to dictate my health care.
I would like to think that we would stand up for them, but look how easy it is that we sit down when people are offended and when they're pushing stuff down our kids' throats. They're still in public school. We just kind of sit down.
For whatever reason, and I'm sure there's an answer, I'm not sure what it is, I'm not that deep into it, but for things that are gonna come here and happen here, you just watch the European countries. And what takes place there, they try to bring all of that ideology here. And usually just in a matter of time, it makes its way here. So, you can watch what's happening there in the European countries and get a feel for what they're trying to do here.
Look at how easy it was for them to lock us down.
Yep.
Lock the whole world down, It's like,
Yep.
Well, that's because it worked over there. They locked them down, and if you try to get out, they shut them in they welded the door shut. And yeah, you will stay in there.
And you know how they were able to do that?
Yeah,
They disarmed them.
they disarmed them. That's absolutely right. And that's what they're trying to do right here.
Yep.
Once they get that accomplished, it's over.
Then there's no stopping them.
Yeah.
They'll have a little bit of difficulty walking up and welding my door. All right, let's see.
Now, is Canada in allegiance with England still?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still under monarchy.
Yes.
Even looking at that, look how easily, okay, oh, you're just putting the truckers, well, good, freezing your bank account.
Uh-huh.
Because you're supporting something we don't agree with.
Yep. Absolutely. See where I left off. The beast has already been determined? I think so, yeah. From verse 8, to be of an infernal nature, having ascended from the lower regions of the earth, called in the Greek abyssos, meaning the bottomless pit. Further, this beast from the abyss has been identified as an evil satanic prince, who had ruled as the spirit power of one of the previously mentioned 7 kingdoms, which were to suppress Israel during the time of the Gentiles. The beast from the pit should not be mistaken for the one described in the 13th chapter. For example, the beast in 13:1 is introduced as one rising up out of the sea, which actually comes up from among the sons of men, being an earthling who rises out of the sea of humanity, while the beast described in the 17th division ascended out of the bottomless pit, which is a place of confinement for rebellious spirit beings. This angelic spirit from the pit will have complete control over the human beast from the sea of humanity and will give unto him unprecedented intellectual powers. It is in this particular sense that all the natural rulers of the mighty kingdoms from the past have obtained special powers. Thus one can understand that the Antichrist of prophecy is of no exception. The beast from the sea and the beast from the bottomless pit are both scripturally identified with the old Grecian kingdom, from whence evolved 4 regal powers. From one of these would arise a little horn, or Antichrist. Alexander the Great died at the age of 3, and 4 kingdoms were formed out of his empire. The contemporary or modern names of these countries today are Greece, Turkey, Syria, and Egypt. If the Antichrist comes from the old Grecian Empire and the spirit from the abyss is the satanic prince who ruled Grecia, then they both are identified with the ancient Greek kingdom. Also, a close observation of the main part of the body of the beast in Revelation, which was likened unto a leopard, distinguishes the particular character of the Antichrist kingdom as that of the old Grecian Empire. Zechariah the prophet, prior to his revelation of the Messiah's second advent, speaks of the sons of Greece being controlled by the Antichrist, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece. This refers to the mighty conflict of Armageddon, when the armies of the world clash with those from the heavens. The prophet Joel also seems to imply that in the last days, Judah and Jerusalem will be under the Grecians. From these scriptural observations, it appears that the beast from the abyss, spirit ruler of the old Grecian Empire, comes forth as the spirit ruler of the Antichrist kingdom. Let's see. Any further thoughts there? Well, then verses 12 through 14, the 10 horns of the beast. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but received power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. They shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. So we're being told straight out there that the 10 horns, those are 10 kings, which they, as of yet, haven't received their kingdom. But when the Antichrist and this spirit from the abyss comes forward to take over that kingdom as well, they're going to receive their power and their kingdoms. It said that they'll receive power as kings 1 hour. And all that is simply stating is it's a specific period of time. You know, it's not an hour, and the hour doesn't stand for anything specific. He's just saying that they have their specific time that this is going to take place, and that's that. The 10 horns upon the beast symbolize 10 regal powers which shall rule simultaneously the first 3.5 years of the Great Tribulation. These are 10 individual kingdoms ruled by 10 kings, each having his own capital or official seat of government inside the territory of the old Roman Empire. A significant mark in this particular part of prophetic fulfillment was the European Recovery Program proposed by Secretary of State George C. Marshall in 1947. The proposal involved a broad plan for aiding the European nations in economic recovery. It is not ironic for us to note that in May 1948, a republic in Southwest Asia on the Mediterranean formed the new state of Israel. From that day forward, unprecedented tension has forced the nation of Israel to consider alliance with the powers of the European world. According to the scripture, Israel will make a 7-year covenant with the future Antichrist, who will become commander-in-chief of the old Roman Empire. The 10 kings are said to be united in one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. What phenomenal characteristics could this deceptive one possibly possess, which will induce both the 10 kingdoms and Israel into such a persuasible union? There is very little doubt but that the man of sin will attract mankind as a great humanitarian with special, with special significance attached to labor and working conditions. In Revelation 6:1, when the Lamb opens the first seal, the Antichrist comes forth riding on a white horse, which is symbolic of a peaceful reign. Even though the early part of this mighty ruler will be characterized by one who seemingly is endeavoring to maintain peace, order, and prosperity, His main objective is not freedom from strife and dissension. By peace shall destroy many. From the very outset of his rise to power, he is a very unique and prominent individual in world affairs. It will become necessary for him to overthrow 3 of these 10 future kingdoms in the formal structure of his empire. This will perhaps be brought about by war or by the great eloquence of speech by this silver-tongued orator, and he shall speak great words against the Most High. This revival of the old Roman Empire, better understood today in the light of the United States of Europe, will become a major world power. These self-sovereign independent powers will at this time become compatible to the Soviet Union or the United States of America, becoming intrigued by this powerful economy of nations and progressive fear of continued successive and hostile attacks. The Republic of Israel will enter into a formal covenant with this new kingdom of Europe, constituting a stipulation of assurance of protection against any and all aggressive attacks. World conditions have made many nations during this age of uncertainty ready to accept a man with supernatural powers who goes forth to conquer by the power of deception, miracles, and lying wonders of Satan. A peaceful way of life removed from the agitation of war and strife will be gladly received in these days of world commotion and disturbance. The Antichrist of Bible prophecy will be masterminded by the devil himself, as he assumes upon himself to play the role of Christ. This effort to bring about universal peace under satanic rule will fail, for ultimately the personality constituting the characteristic of evil one will emerge forth. Satan is called the Great Red Dragon, and he was a murderer from the beginning. A perfect utopian order of political and social perfection will remain only an imaginary vision of the idealist, apart from Christ, the Prince of Peace. These nations shall continue under the dictatorship of the beast until they make war with Christ and are completely destroyed at the conflict of Armageddon. So, many have made this statement too. See what some of you think about this, that the signing of the peace treaty with Israel marks the beginning of the tribulation period. You heard that? Okay. So what he's stating here, and what that's all about, is these 10 kingdoms or nations that will be established, that the Antichrist is going to orchestrate, and they'll sign a peace treaty with Israel that will signify, I guess, to say that the start of the tribulation period. And for the first part of that, it's going to look like, it worked. It was, Israel's been an official nation since 1948. From 1948 until now, how many of those years have they been in conflict? All of them. I mean, they've been at war or in threat or always. So for the first time in their modern history, there's going to come a time of peace where they, Palestine and all the stuff that's going, it'll stop. Well, all over the world, who wouldn't think that, because the Antichrist is going to orchestrate this, think, man, he's great. Look what he just accomplished. For the first time ever, there's no war or conflict in Israel or the surrounding, and that's going to go for the first 3.5 years. Everybody that's here that doesn't know any better, they're going to get sucked right into that. And then what's going to happen is, as Satan has always done, is still doing to people now, and is going to do it then, when he gets what he wants out of you, and either doesn't need you anymore, or maybe now something has happened that you pose a threat to him, he's going to turn on you. So what does he do in people's lives now? Exact same thing. Makes everything look great. It's wonderful. Oh, look how good this is. Until he gets you in, you're too deep, and then he's going to turn on you, because all he really wants to do is kill you.
That's right.
So that's what's going to happen at somewhere at that 3.5 year point, and doesn't say what it is, but for some reason he's gonna destroy 3 of those 10 kingdoms. They're either, I'm guessing they're going to oppose him in some way, but at this point it's too late. He's already established and gained his power. He's gotten what he's wanted, out of all of them. So nobody's going to have the courage to step in and interfere when he does that. And then it's going to be downhill from there. Any questions on any of that? Let's see. Go ahead and stop there. We got just 2 more sections, but I'll get I haven't printed 18 yet. I'll get 18 printed and bring it for next time, so then we can go right into 18. So it's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? It is a typo there, by the way. The next one says verse 5. It's 15.
You know, it does kind of make you wonder, with all the stuff happening in that area, they keep mentioning all these kingdoms and all this stuff, and Israel, everything's gonna be over there.
Right. Yeah.
What will we be? What will the United States be? United States,
I don't know, and many have suggested this, and I thought it myself. Will it even exist?
Right. Will it just be smothering?
Yeah.
Because there'll be such great wars and tragedies, tragic events that, obviously will be ruled by somebody else if it's still here, but,
Well, and here's the other part of that I think of as well. That when those seals begin to be broken and things begin to unfold, and specifically God's judgment on sin begins to be poured out, where does judgment begin? Where does the word tells us? Okay. Yes, that's true. It begins with God's people. The true Christians are going to be gone. They're raptured. But even still, what does that mean for those that are here as well? How to describe? The United States is really different than just about any other country in this sense, that they're trying to say that isn't true, and that's not who we are, and maybe that's not who we are now, but that's certainly not who we were. We were established a Christian, God-fearing nation. That's how we began. No matter what they tried to do to change history and push that stuff aside and say it wasn't about that, and that's exactly who we are. No other nation, other than Israel, that God's chosen, that has been born that way. Think about it. So during this time that God is pouring out judgment on sin on the world, who does the word say is going to receive more severe judgment? Those that have known and turned away. Whoever that is, any nation, any individual, that those that have known and have experienced God and His blessings and have turned their back on Him receive the greater judgment. Always. So when that stuff begins to happen, who's to say that the first one to get a third of the world's population of men are killed? There goes the United States. Obviously, I'm speculating, I know, but I'm going to have good precedents to back that up, I think.
Sink into the sea, right?
Yeah.
I was just saying, you think of how how many people, even just in the United States, that have known the Lord and have just totally turned their backs on all the Lord?
Oh, yeah.
Think about the people just here in Indiana.
Exactly.
But as a nation, we've done that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, there's still people that are following God. Obviously, we're here. But all in all, the nation has totally turned away from that. You don't think that God's not going to judge that? He has to. He said he would. He's bound by his word to do that. So as them seals begin to break open and the trumpets are sounded and the vials are poured out, don't think that this is one of the first places that's going to be struck. My opinion.
Oh,
Amen.
Yep. Don't be here. That's all I can tell you.
Amen.
we think about this, how the word talks about Abel's blood crying out, and I'm thinking, how many babies were killed? How many people were killed?
Innocent blood.
All this innocent blood is crying out to the Lord.
Yep.
It's like,
Absolutely. All right. Well, trying to think if we have anything to announce. Anything coming up? Going on?
baptism? Is that a date on that?
What's that?
Baptism?
I haven't for sure, because I'm still trying to get my list together who is going to be baptized, and so I can talk to the individuals to do that. You know what? I need to get that list formed. So, two things that we want to get going. Anyone that is going to be baptized, please see me and let me get a list established, and then also for the discipleship class. We did decide that we're going to do that on Monday, and we'd like to start that before too long as well. Not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, if I can get everything accomplished between now and then. I think maybe we'll do the baptism then, that Sunday. So 2 weeks from last Sunday. What's that?
Is it 13th?
I don't even know what the date
Because
is.
the 12th is
Yeah.
the touch of Dutch, so the next, that would be the 13th.
Yep.